Welcome to another episode of Tech Storytelling. And this tech story is for the business leaders and by the business leaders. Today, I have an amazing guest, and he is Mr. Tom Allen. So, Tom, namaste, and welcome to this Tech Storytelling program.
Madan, thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah. So, Tom is the AI enthusiast. He's the founder of the AI Journal. So, welcome to this program, Tom. Before we get started, tell us something about AI Journal and your role into AI Journal so that at least the audience would get a sense of with whom they are speaking.
Yeah. So started the AI Journal just over a year ago and only really started ramping up around October time. And I found that it has a blog and a bit of fun, and it's kind of scaled up from there and gone from one step to another. And we've increased, what initiatives we're doing, and got a really good team behind us to shape what we want to do. And I mean, Madan, similar to this podcast, our proposition is to add value to as many people as possible. And, whether you're someone that's new to the space or someone that's a pro and a veteran and had 30 plus years in the space, there's something for you. And we want to turn it into a information hub and education tool that people can use. And that's why our events are free, our reports are free to download, why we're introducing training, and why we're doing awards to recognize, industry leading companies. And yeah, it's always free to consume and always open to the network to learn more about AI and emerging technologies.
Oh, that's interesting. Really, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So, great to know that you are using this for training, for recognition, for reward, and creating a hub where leaders and people can come and learn about AI. That's a great initiative, and wish you all the best.
Yeah.
One of your punchline is providing you with the latest AI insights.
Yeah.
So based on your research, what are the insights for the job seekers who are trying to accelerate their career into AI space, where they should be focusing more?
Sure. So I think there's a lot of areas, when you come to AI, it's such a broad area, Madan, and where it can touch on, what industry it can be used in, what the technology is. I mean, definition alone, you get thousands of different definitions, or at least I seem to whenever I speak to someone. So when someone's going into this space, we're going into, all of us are, whether you're a pro and had 20 years of hearing about AI, and there are some people that have dealt with intelligent automation, which is a buzzword that's come around past 3 years ago, in various different areas, whether it's cloud or what you're using AI for in the marketing space, which I think we'll touch on later. And people coming into the industry really need to have in my opinion, have an idea of what do they want to do with it, what do they want to serve, what do they want to become pro in. And there's plenty of resources available, and that's where we want to step in and have the resources from people that have worked in the area. So I mean, we get insights from people such as head of data science team at Sophos, the director at Highland. They look at all the different kind of viewpoints. I never could. I'm not an expert, and that's why I wanted to build this. So people that really want to get into this route, and something we want to look at is working with universities and working with colleges to say, AI is such this big changing area. How do you, sculpt people to what they actually want to do with it, rather than just saying AI is a really cool tool and leaving it there? So there's plenty of other areas that are around AI as well. So I wouldn't look at people that are just necessarily building things or models or very tech orientated. I'd also look at the sides of communications, PR, the supporting functions, HR, admin. How can they understand what's going on? I mean, we're releasing a report on it around RPA, intelligent automation, data analytics. And a big thing there is around center of excellence and having the supporting functions. And people are ultimately at the front of that. So when people are coming into the technology or into the industries using this technology, it's really core to not forget about the supporting functions, because without them, without PR, without marketing, you're not going to know what's happening or what's being done, or you're not going to be able to relay the message to your board of directors or to who the decision makers are. So it's really key that we start from the ground level and make sure people know what they're getting into. And that's why we want to provide various different insights from the reports and the articles to show this is how you can use AI in one sector and this is how you can use AI in another sector. Don't think of it just as AI, if that makes sense. When you look at for a different business or a different sector,
Yeah,
changes completely. And I mean, there's new ideas every day. So,
yeah,
not to stay restricted, madam.
yeah. Great, interesting insights that where job seekers, how can they micro focus
Yeah.
on for AI to amalgamate with their existing role. This is great. Though you have answered my other aspect of the question about the decision makers and the business leaders, but from your perspective, you're talking about one industry to another industry. Where do you see, I mean, in which industry the business leaders will create humongous opportunity into AI space? Maybe I'm talking about manufacturing, retail, consumer
Yeah.
space. Where do you see, where is the most of the investment coming on?
Yeah, so I think at the moment the investment is actually going in from what I see and what I see through Crunchbase and see through various news sites on the press releases I get, but I can see it moving to more. You're already seeing the move for retail, and I think in manufacturing as well. I was working in manufacturing or engineering just before COVID hit,
Mhm.
and without disclosing too much, the sales of automation solutions to the logistics sector
Oh yeah.
skyrocketed. Like it just went up through the roof, and no business was going out the door for food because they needed all the personnel to, they didn't have time to wipe out the systems and bring in a new automation solution, or whether it's whatever aspect it's using. But because logistics needed all that machine vision and all the sectors to the parts to move parcels very quickly and automate returns and automate these areas. So going forward, I think we're going to see it really skyrocket in retail, in education. I think you're going to see some cool platforms so you can learn from Harvard halfway across the world. And I know you can already do that to a degree, but I think it will be much more integrated, that you can join classrooms at the click of a button. And all of this comes with not necessarily AI, but understanding the customer and the marketing of it, and how do you push it through. And I mean, marketing's already exploding with things like Adverity, so a company that looks at ads and they can drive down your cost massively for companies. So I think that will affect all sorts of companies, because you're gonna be able to display ads, whether it's in retail, e-commerce, or healthcare, or wherever it is, manufacturing, and show what you're doing at a much lower cost, which is going to affect your whole marketing team and the whole marketing strategy. So I'm not too sure, I can't see the future, but I can see it being big across those sectors 100%. And I reckon there'll be some surprises as well to where we see it, because people wouldn't even have thought the ideas yet. I mean, you're seeing left, right, and center with funding, all these new companies come about, and Google and the big lot seem to acquire them, and next thing you know, you've got some really cool model that can do amazing things in healthcare, or
Yeah,
can reduce time massively by producing the next level of autonomous vehicles. I don't know, but there's a
yeah,
lot of change, and I would just, to yourself and to anyone else, be a bit cautious of saying where the next big thing's going to be,
yeah,
because it's changing so rapidly. I don't know
yeah,
what's going to
yeah.
be, man.
Great. I mean, in fact, great to know that what you mentioned is the education.
Yeah.
Education is one of the sector where a lot of investment and a lot of way of walking, a way of teaching is changing with AI. Great to know that.
Yeah.
Moving forward, Tom, digital transformation, of course, data, AI, a lot of conversation going on. But COVID-19 has actually shifted the focus from digital, of course, digital transformation is the focus, but shifted to cyber security.
Yeah.
I saw you are also pretty excited into cyber security, couple of webinars and the events you are attending. So
Yeah.
what's your insight about cyber security? I mean, if somebody is starting very fresh, do you think it's one of the hot area?
Yeah, I think if you're in cybersecurity, you've got a very good chance of having a very robust business, because you look at cybersecurity, you look at the amount of data that's being collected, and the structure for how the amount of data points that are coming about. All of that's got to be secure. And I mean, maybe they will move to doing it in-house and creating their own models and creating their own software, but I just don't see it happening, because Snowflake at the moment, although they're not directly cybersecurity focused, you're going to get companies that are very much like them doing a lot of cybersecurity for public sector. And I mean, that kind of data is just they're going to look at that and think, we need cybersecurity companies that can deliver the robust models for us. And I can just see it I don't know too much about it, which you might have spotted, but I just know it's going to be big because I know people are going to be very concerned about how it's used, the ethics. I know, whether people can get hold of it. And I think we've seen with documentaries that are already coming out, how it's being manipulated, how it's being used. And I think if you're creating some sort of model that can do it even just a millisecond quicker or predict something even by 1% more, you're going to be you're going to have a very strong proposition, and it will probably be someone that comes along and buys you because they want to make sure they've got it within their business. So whether it's a card provider or someone like MasterCard or TransferWise or someone like Facebook, if they see you've got a model, I can imagine you'll be getting a very nice proposition.
Yeah, great. So in the conversation you talked about Snowflake.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm big time betting on Snowflake. Since last 6 months, I'm studying about Snowflake.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm a big fan of their product. But since we are talking about Snowflake, what's your insight about the Snowflake? I mean, how do you see it's going to really, really revolutionize the entire data and the cloud market? I mean,
Yeah.
what's your view? What's your take?
Yeah, I haven't looked at it too much. I've looked at it from an investment point just to see whether it's something, that will be big. I mean, they've got great personnel behind them and they seem to know what they're doing. But without shooting myself in the foot, I haven't looked into them too much. I just know I followed some people on LinkedIn and, it's just Snowflake going for their IPO. And what they've got is huge, but the potential of it, I don't know. And I'm not too sure. So I'd be a bit concerned. I'll give you an answer I'm not too comfortable with, but I definitely need to do my research because they're going from strength to strength at the moment.
Okay.
And I think they will see some good interaction with companies such as Salesforce. So that would be interesting to see. But yeah.
Okay, that's great. So a lot of talk about connected world, digital transformation you talked about into manufacturing, logistics, or maybe into discrete engineering. So what do you see? What's your take on Industry 4.0? How do you see this Industry 4.0 is moving ahead?
With manufacturing and the engineering space, or?
Manufacturing, of course, one thing into the production and of course into the engineering space.
Yeah, so I think anything to do with production is huge. I mean, Amazon proves that we're a consumer nation. We love to, get things manufactured, and I think it's going to be a big space that uses AI and a big space that uses, I noticed it before I was leaving my job, was machine vision and processing orders very quickly and being able to, with distribution lines, getting it shipped all over the world very quickly. How, where it gets built into, I'm not too sure because it's already pretty prevalent. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, especially with the interaction of smart cities as well, what happens and what it pulls through. I don't know too much in that area, but it'll definitely be a game changer and definitely be interesting to see what can be brought to market with it.
Okay. So now I'm more getting into the marketing space and sales space where you have the expertise. So I wanted to know your view. I mean, there are a lot of talk about AI powered marketing, like content recommendation, media recommendation, news recommendation, customer segmentation, data driven sales. A lot of buzzwords that confuse the marketers. I mean, do you think AI marketing will reshape the traditional marketing? And how do you see this is really evolving and we need to adopt?
Yeah, I think it will. It's a really good question. And obviously it's my area that I really love and I'm really involved with. I mean, it's what we do and I love marketing. And I don't see it being replacing or, taking people out. I see it working in harmony and, co-function and making a marketer do a much better job. I certainly look at it that way. And if you're a marketing agency or a marketing team, I wouldn't look at AI as coming for your job. I'd look at it as you can be quite cool and be, very decision led. And when you go into that meeting with your board or your senior manager or whatever it is, you're going to have a lot better data to use and you're going to know whether a campaign is going to work or not, because all that data is going to be recorded from your past campaign. You're going to have better stats. You can see and you've got cool tools like AI content creation tools. And I think it's Forbes that's using it at the moment with their writing team, and it creates stories and headlines that they think people are going to like. And I mean, if you use that from a business point of view, I mean, the one way I was quite good at my last role is building quite a lot of traffic very quickly to the site, which obviously converts and sells. If you've got a tool telling you what kind of content is going to work and what, content you need to post, and then you can, get that out much quicker, the results are going to be a lot quicker. And along the same things with the ads as well. So if you've got ads that are going to work, and you can use Google Ads to show you click rate and whatever, but these ads will basically say, where are people looking? What's the data points? How can you get your costs so low so you can really maximize your budget? So even if you don't convert, you're not spending that much. I think that's going to be the area that changes. And I mean, there's all sorts of tools I'm seeing come out within retail for marketing, like smart mirrors. I remember when I was, although it's not necessarily marketing related, I was Cannes Lion and I went up to a mirror and you could try Nikes on and it could show you on your feet in the smart mirror. And it wasn't 100% done, but you could just get the sense and idea of how that's going to market people. So when, high street's open again, you go into a shop, try something on, you can try all, it'll get rid of issues like not necessarily marketing, but get rid of holding stock. So you won't have to hold stock in a retail store because you can just try it on and there or at home if you want. And I think that's going to change marketing because they're going to get a real insight to so many consumers, so many people, so many customers, and then really just delve that back and hone in there, what campaigns have worked, what haven't. And because it's cheaper, they can take risks on bigger campaigns that might not work, but they've got the budget because they've saved money on previous campaigns. So I think it's a really exciting area in marketing, and I think it's going to affect, and with PR, a big lot of whatever the tech-enabled companies do. So really interesting.
That's great. So out of curiosity, I mean, customer experience and personalization, personalization. So in your view, I mean, data and AI is helping the marketers to personalize, improve the customer experience. So in your view, would you like to share some of the interesting story or how this can be used from your insight perspective? Can you please share some of the insights with us?
Yeah, so for customer experience, I think the way I referred to it is that a customer can know you, or a company can know the customer almost like a best friend. So, looking at what they can do to, and we did a whole conference around it. And I mean, there were some great case studies. Kieran did a great case study, and Peggy from Big ID used, how to use data to really hone in your customer experience. And, I've got lots of examples of where I've seen it used good and where I've seen it used bad. And where they've used it bad, you can just tell they're very traditional thinking and they don't want to adopt this kind of customer experience. And I think, they said something, I've seen something in a report that half of the stock market is going to be replaced by new companies within the next 5 years because of simple things like customer experience. You've got peak companies like Robinhood, where it's just got rid of a lot of brokers and, you can have it there and then in your phone. And, that improves your customer experience massively. They can read that data and shift something to you and say, oh, you might want to buy this stock, or you might want to buy, now's the time to buy, or they can shift certain news to you. That relates back to the marketing. I was on a conference yesterday and they were talking about how they react to real news, real time, to affect their customers, to give them that customer experience. And, I think if you're not looking, I think customer experience is the core pillar. If you're not providing a good experience, regardless of your price and regardless, it's becoming less and less that you're the only person in the market. It's very rare to get someone come along and say, we're the only people that do this anymore. And if you're not providing that customer experience, you're not providing that personalization and the tone to it where who your customer are, you're screwed. Like you're really not going to be persevering, and you're not going to be around for much longer, because the people that invest in these systems that can read their customers, in my opinion, I could be wrong, are going to be the ones that you really see 10 years from now flying high and being buzzed about on all the publications. So if you're not doing it already, to anyone watching, make sure you focus on your customer experience, because it's such a key thing, and make sure your customer's happy.
Okay, that's great. So now my question is very much focused to sales and marketing professionals about their roles. So how will really AI marketing will change roles and expertise requirement? I mean, what essentially the marketers, maybe the content writers, or maybe the sales professionals, what kind of skills they need to adopt to stay relevant and competitive into this age?
So I think, when people look at marketing, and I see it all the time when I'm, not all the time, but when I'm seeing people within the marketing space, you still need creativity, and AI cannot create. It can duplicate, it can give you new ideas, it can, it can not creative itself, it can give you new ways of tackling a problem. But people that come into it, like advertising is never going to be affected by AI. I can't see it, because you can't give a brief to a piece of AI or machine learning software or a model and say, go create us an advertisement. You might get a basic framework, but the creatives that work on that, the people that are going to create, the award-winning work. And I think to me, it comes around messaging and the content. And I always think that's going to be the key thing. I mean, one of my friends always jokes, I'm so focused on content because I really believe that's the way you're going to get a message across, just persistence. So just constantly relaying what it is. And if any person is coming out of university and going into marketing or switching roles and they're looking at a marketing position, my personal advice would be to really focus on the messaging and the story you want to tell, and really getting up to speed with that. And, how's the story gonna, have you got a roadmap for the kind of story you want to show over 5 years to say, this is, the transformation we're going to? And that relates to things like if a company embarks on a digital transformation project and they want to intelligently automate 90% of their HR processes or whatever it is, or their accounts payable department, marketing is going to play such a key role. And I would really tell people to get clued up and get very comfortable with storytelling, and content creation would be my way forward.
Okay, that's great. So what I heard, in fact, this is one of the storytelling, and you are saying, especially the marketers, when the things are going to be automated. So number one is the storytelling. Number two is the creativity, right? These are the things that will help them to be really stay relevant and competitive. But quick question, I mean, in fact, I interact with a lot of sales and marketing professionals. They get confused with intelligent automation, chatbot, NLP, data modeling, AI models, computer vision, machine learning. So being a marketer, do the marketer or sales professionals really need to go back and study about all this set of technology, or you suggest be pretty much aligned to any specific tool, for example, SaaS, Salesforce, where they should be pretty much aligned to a specific tool and they should be learning all this technology together? I mean, at what breadth, at what level they should be learning all this technology?
So I think it comes with a role, and I always look at it, madam, and people don't necessarily agree with this, but people buy from people, and you can have all the fancy tools you want, and you can have all the fancy software you have. If you're not good with a person and your role is to purvey a company's message, you're probably in the wrong role. I don't mean that in a harsh way, but to be a good marketer and to be a good salesperson, you've got to be, ready to, whether you mess up or don't mess up, put yourself on the, show the company up and show who they are. So although there are great tools out there you can use, such as Salesforce to manage your whole CRM, or HubSpot's really great. I'd recommend HubSpot if anything. But if you're someone just saying, oh, well, I've booked in a meeting with them, and you're not following up as a salesperson, picking up the phone and having that interaction, like, you can have all the tech you want, it's not going to make you a better salesperson. It might get you more prepared to go into the sales meeting, or more prepared to show your marketing campaign or your plan to the board of investors, or to people you want to show it to. But it comes down to personal skills. And I think people are going to forget that just because AI exists and just because all this exists, they're going to forget the personal factor. And I think companies that do that, and, we touch on it in the next report with intelligent automation, and making sure that communication around the digital transformation strategy and center of excellence hubs, and how to get the board of directors or the leader of the business ready to understand that it's not just you implement this cool technology, systems go, you're great. Like, it's just not going to work that way. And the same thing to marketers and salespeople. If they think these tools are going to come in, and maybe rightly so they think it, because of what you see on the news and on the articles, I don't buy it. And I think if you're not someone that's ready to go out and go speak to people and purvey your company's message and say what you're doing. And yeah, of course, use it to say, we're using intelligent automation to, if you're someone that offers that kind of software, to say this is what we can do. But I don't think you can just sit back, hide behind a camera and not go on any Zoom calls, because it's just rubbish. Like, it's not going to work. And if you have people like that in your team, wish you good luck, because I can't see it
Yeah.
working.
All right, great. So, okay. So with that, thanks, Tom, for taking up time today with us.
Yeah, it's been great, madam. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
So, guys, we were talking to Tom, who is the founder of AI Journal, and it was really pleasure speaking to him. It was really nice conversation, interesting topics, and a lot of insights. In case you want to have the more insights and more interesting, uh, extending the thought, maybe you can follow Mr. Tom Allen on the LinkedIn. It would be really pleasure, helping you guys. So thanks a lot for your time, and again, wish you all the best. Stay tuned. We'll again connect on different story. Thank you.